I mean, last week was for a week that didn't have any ranked unranked matchups. It was a really weird week and like a kind of a crazy week.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Coastal lost to App State, which is pretty wild. I mean, App State is where dreams go to die, man. Like those fans in Boone, just like I mean, it was I don't know if you caught any of the game. Those fans were like loud for a small stadium like that. That was a loud environment.
Yeah. I,
Um,
the I want to talk about the Army Wake Forest game. the
oh yeah, yeah.
that was honestly one of my favorite college football games of all time.
Seriously.
I mean,
So I don't think I watched a single bit of the game live. I maybe watched like highlights while I was watching another game,
yeah.
but like I didn't see any of it like live.
So
So tell me about it.
so
Like
obvious.
I looked up the stats, and the stats were absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was Wake Forest did some stuff you do in college, like NCAA football 2014 or something, where like you lose the time of possession battle, but when you got the ball, like you're uh,
You're
you're you're
scoring.
scoring on like two plays every single time, and that's what Wake Forest did.
Yeah.
And like Army, I honestly didn't think it was possible for a military academy school to score more than 30 points in a game. So
Right.
the fact that they put up 56 on Wake Forest, I don't know if it says more about Army or more about Wake Forest and how
I
bad.
feel like it says more about Army
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
this
I mean,
was this
you give
was the
Army 40,
perfect.
40 minutes.
Go ahead.
You give Army 43 minutes. I mean, seriously, Wake Forest had the ball for 17 minutes of the 60-minute game,
Yep,
and scored 70 points. That is
they
insane.
averaged 12 yards a play.
Incredible.
12 yards of.
They didn't punt once.
Nope, no
Not one
punts.
time did they punt.
Quarterback only
They
had to
went
throw
for
it
it on
29
fourth.
times for 458
Yeah,
yards. I mean, watching that game, it was pretty easy to watch because I just turn it off for the Army bit, and then I'd flip back on as soon as I saw that Wake Forest got the ball. So it was a good
uh,
because I didn't want to watch the Army offense. Let's be honest, I don't. I just didn't want to watch it.
we
Um,
don't like bad offense.
no, we don't like that offense. Even though they did put up 56 points, I just cool. They scored a touchdown. Wake Forest has got the ball back. Now I can watch this entertainingness, and they'll score in 10 minutes, or not even that long. They'll score in 5 minutes, and I can flip back to whatever other game I want to watch. It was nice.
Yeah, I mean, so do you think like Sam Hartman might be like a dark horse Heisman candidate?
No, I
Like, do you think he
Wake
might
Forest isn't
be
even
in New
being
York?
taken seriously right now, and 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 like his name hasn't even been thrown in the discussion. Kenny Pickett's name's in the discussion. Kenny Pickett is my pick right now after their performance against Clemson.
Okay. Oh, like what if they're 13-0 at the end of the season? Like what
I
if
guess he has to be
they're
in the
13-0?
discussion because if they're 13-0, then he's definitely continuing to go off, and then he had would have beaten Clemson and a couple other the big time teams in the ACC. So
Right.
I feel like by default he'll be in the discussion, but he won't win it. He's a
That's
quarterback from
fair.
Wake Forest. You think he's
Um,
really gonna win the Heisman Trophy?
no, I don't. But like, I like to see like guys in New York. Like, I mean, but the same thing can be said about some of the other, like the quarterback from Cincinnati. Like, he's doing well in the betting pools, but like, do I think he's actually going to be in New York, even if they're 13-0? No,
No,
I don't.
no. They'll put Caleb
Because
Williams in
college,
there before they'll put Sam
yeah,
Hartman.
definitely, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they'll do. Um,
Even though
so the other,
transitioning away from Wake Forest. Speaking of Caleb Williams, how about Kansas having a 10-0 halftime lead?
ooh, I mean,
As someone
here's the
who
thing. I'm
took,
not betting.
especially as somebody who took Oklahoma minus 38 or whatever it was,
I'm done betting on or against Oklahoma. Like, I'm just done,
them and
man.
Clemson.
Like when they start to tell me like, oh, Oklahoma's turning the corner. Yeah, suck my dick. Oklahoma is not turning the corner. They may have just had a really good game against a really bad defense at TCU.
Yeah,
Like, I'm sorry, but like this team is not good. If Kansas is leading you 10-0 at half, it does not matter. You cannot convince me that your team is an elite team.
Nope.
Because Kansas is awful. Bowling Green could beat Kansas 8 times out of 10.
Yeah, they're probably like -3 favorites in a neutral field.
And that's like concerning.
Yeah. Hey, BG does have a win over a Power 5 conference team this year. Kansas doesn't have that.
Kansas does not.
I don't think they do.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, just when you think Oklahoma, oh, they're looking good. Like, no, they shit the bed.
Yeah.
Like, they should have
It's a good
lost that
thing
game.
that they actually.
They should have.
No, it's a good thing that they actually have a decent quarterback now, because if Spencer Rattler was the start of that, they literally could have lost that game.
They would have lost that game. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that was wild. We have to talk about since Oklahoma #3 almost losing to Kansas. We have to talk about that. We have to talk about Cincinnati's kind of nail biter at Navy. I feel like we need to talk about that. I watched. I mean, that's the game. I'm going to watch every Cincinnati game, so I will always be able to give you a full report. Say that again.
You have to.
Oh yeah. Like at this point, I have to.
I don't have to watch every Purdue game.
Right. If they were in that conversation, if they had beat Wisconsin, then you have to watch the Purdue game.
Oh yeah, but I didn't want to watch that Wisconsin game after like halfway through it.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah, no. So that Cincinnati game, like I'll transition that because we're talking top 4. That was, I expected that a little bit.
They're just showing respect to our troops. You know, they don't want to beat them up too bad.
Yeah, right. I like that. Now, so I mean, Cincinnati.
Wake Forest put up 70 on our military. They were UC was a whole lot nicer. Wake Forest, they don't like our military.
They sure were. No, I mean, so Cincinnati had never won at Navy. They had played there 4 times and had lost all 4 times. Yeah, had never won at Navy. They've won in Annapolis for a bowl game, but never playing Navy. So like it's a hostile environment. Every student at Navy is required to be at the game, so it's like automatically a little louder than like your run-of-the-mill AAC school. Like they probably didn't prepare for the crowd noise that they had to deal with, because you know you're not thinking about it preparing for most of these schools.
Yeah.
For the American. And Navy they play a game that they control the ball. And if they control the time of possession, they just hope that they can keep you from scoring on one or two of your 3 possessions.
Yeah.
And so like Cincinnati.
It's true. I mean, that's the whole goal of the military academy schools is to maybe only 1 possession a quarter. That's what they're going to give you. They're going to give you like 1 possession. In their ideal circumstance, they don't give you any possessions. They just keep the ball for 60 minutes, and you never touch it. But
yeah. And so, you know, the game, honestly, like I didn't have any doubts that Cincinnati was going to win throughout the entire game. Because like even when Navy kind of went down and scored towards the end to make it 20-27, I was like, okay, yeah, but it's like the 4th quarter and Navy takes forever to do anything. So there's like 40 seconds left on the clock. Even if they get the ball back, like what are they going to do? Because their quarterback can't throw the ball.
Yeah.
He's not used to throwing the ball. So
yeah, it never really felt out of your hand. Like it never really felt like Navy was going to win, especially after the 3rd quarter. You're like, okay, now we're good. But
I will say when they recovered the onside kick, that was when I got nervous. I was like shaking, honestly. I was like, oh no. Like I was at a bar and I was drunk. Okay. So like I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Like you got to be kidding me. This is how our perfect season's going to end. We're going to end up blowing the rest of everybody out. We're going to be 12-1. And like I was just like, you know, obviously just
doomsday
thinking of that,
scenario.
Right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I went instantly to the doomsday scenario, and then 2 plays later, we intercepted the quarterback to win the game.
Yeah.
So, like, while we should have boat raced Navy, we didn't. I'm okay with it. I don't think Navy is as bad as the record, if I'm being honest. They're pretty bad, but like, I think that they can play up because of their strategy. The way that
they
play.
have a game plan, and the game plan works every so often.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Yeah. And it worked today.
And if it's off and you don't have the talent you might have had the last couple of years, it's really off and you can look really bad.
Yeah. 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 So I mean,
there's only one other thing I really wanted to talk about from this past weekend.
9
OT, Penn State-Illinois. The worst football game that I've even ever watched a second of. I hated it. I hated watching it.
So I witnessed the 7 overtime Texas A&M versus LSU in I think that was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that. It was like a weeknight game, and it went to like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most exciting football games I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
That was not it.
That was... That's why Big Ten football has such a bad reputation. That game in particular.
Yes.
Because that happens
and
at least once a weekend.
And the overtime rules, like the new overtime rules, suck.
But an ugly game.
They suck.
The
new overtime rules suck.
2-point conversion after whatever. What OT is it after? I forget.
After the second OT.
Yeah. It's just.
And like
I feel like teams haven't
national
prepared.
Championship game coming down to that.
No, I don't even want to think about that.
But like, it's entirely possible. We've
is.
Seen games go to overtime, right?
Yeah, I really don't want that. I just don't even want to think about that happening. So
I think. No, so my opinion on it is I'm fine with this system for the regular season, but they should change it for the playoffs. Like it should. Like, all right, we're in the playoffs. It's different rules now, just like baseball does it.
Yeah, they only really did that for this year because they're changing it back again next year. But
still, I like it.
I think what was the point? Oh, I hate it as a bettor. When you bet an over and it's close and it doesn't hit and you're going to overtime, it's the best feeling before this 2-point conversion. I don't know why you would have, but if you had Penn State, Illinois over, and that thing goes to overtime and it's not hit the over yet, you're like, all right, we got this. And then it's 2-point conversion after 2-point conversion, and it's failed. And it just makes it less exciting. And it takes away from that late cover that can really save you when you're needing that over to hit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree.
So we can
transition now move into the James Franklin.
Yeah, transition from Penn State into James Franklin. Lots of rumors around him and LSU, him and USC, where he could go. He actually, I don't know if you saw, he fired his agent this week and hired a new agent.
I did see that.
It's just interesting. It's like, okay.
Generally not a move you make if you're not ready to make some negotiations.
Yeah. And then furthermore, hang on.
Go ahead.
He had a press conference this week. I don't know if you've heard the sound bites from this. And I shit you not, while he's talking about his team focus, staying focused for this game against Ohio State this week, he talks about he mentioned he's supposed to be talking about Ohio State, but he says Illinois. He keeps saying we got to play well, we got to stay focused on Illinois. Doesn't seem like he's very focused. Even further, in continuing to talk about the matchup Ohio State, and this is the one that's really going to piss Ohio State fans off. He calls the Horseshoe, Ohio State's home field,
the Big House.
He calls it the Big House.
Yeah.
So he's not focused during his press conferences where he's talking about staying focused. He's hiring a new agent. James Franklin's not the coach of Penn State next year.
So So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I think he uses the USC and LSU openings to leverage some additional concessions from Penn State. I've been on some like message boards from different places, and apparently back in week 2, he had a conversation, like his agent had a conversation with someone at LSU. Basically, it was in the process that they knew they were going to be firing Orgeron if he didn't win out. And it was basically kind of told to him like, hey, we want you if we fire Orgeron. And he went to the Board of Regents, which the Board of Regents has alumni chairs on it. Like the alumni elect 3 of the chairs on the Board of Regents. And guess who one of the alumni chairs is?
Who?
Joe Paterno's son.
Okay.
And he doesn't like James Franklin. And basically, he used this to go to his boss in the athletic department and be like, hey, they want me. You need to invest money in the practice facilities that I've been trying to get upgraded for years that Joe Paterno's son has been blocking because he doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Also, I want more say. I want to hear less from him.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I think he's going to use this for leverage to stay at Penn State.
Well, why wouldn't he just start fresh somewhere else at a better program? Like, this isn't, I mean, maybe USC is a sidestep, but I think LSU is really, like you said, really what he's got his eyes on. So what
I am concerned.
It's not like Joe Paterno's son's leaving anytime soon.
No, I agree. I'm more concerned with LSU, and like if I'm a head coach, I'm thinking, and I would agree with you that LSU is a better job than USC at this point in time. However, it wouldn't shock me to find out that there is some recruiting violations or some other weird stuff going on.
Sorry, your camera just looked really funny for a while. It got really slow-mo, so I got a little...
Yeah, I noticed that. Actually, it's still doing that. That's weird. Okay.
I forget what we were talking about now.
No, we were talking about James Franklin. Like, if I'm thinking of LSU, it's looking a little funny to me. Oh my God, this is terrible.
Well, see, okay, now I had a point, and this is what I'm saying now. If you're a head coach, you think you can go in there and change the culture. Like, your mindset is, I can be the change that changes this culture, and I can fix all their problems and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. The camera's being really weird. My point about LSU is I don't know, like we've talked about it in the past. Me personally, I just feel like there's something weird going on in the athletic department where they like don't catch things and don't care about moral issues. And if I am a football coach and I already have a very good established program and a very good established culture at Penn State, I don't know that I want to go fight against a bunch of people who don't care about that. And then like have to establish that culture, but then also have to worry if I go 8-4 if I'm going to get fired. At Penn State, that he doesn't have to worry about that, and he could make just as much money. I
don't see him staying at Penn State. I mean, I guess you're seeing something different on the message boards, but if it's really a problem with him and Joe Paterno's son, then why? Do you really think he's going to stop? Like, he's on the alumni. If there's no way he's going to stop, then why would you stick around even if he makes the concessions this time? Like, all right, fine, I'll get you a practice facility.
I mean, you may be entirely right.
If it was me, I would just not want to be dealing with the headache anymore. I would not take the LSU job, but that's more just because I don't want to be around that LSU program right now and the culture that seems to be within that athletic department as a whole at this point. But take a similar job, like a similar prestige, I would get out of there as quickly and not have to deal
Sure.
with that.
I mean, hey, I think anything could happen. I'm not saying it is like, I'm not saying it's a done deal. I'm not saying like for sure like James Franklin is leaving or whatever, but or not leaving.
I think he's not the coach of Penn State next year. I'm gonna say it now.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
I think just reading the tea leaves, gotta feel it. I
Okay.
gotta feel it.
I mean, I'll concede that. I'll concede that you make good points.
That tonight's gonna be a good night.
Oh, there is one other coaching opening that like I don't want to talk too much about, but Texas Tech now has a coach opening.
Yeah, I saw that. I was a
Yeah,
little
I
surprised.
thought that was weird. If I'm going to be honest, that was a surprise to
5-2.
me. Yeah, I mean they put up with Cliff Kingsbury for like ever, and he never had a winning record at any point in his tenure.
But he was gorgeous. He was a gorgeous man.
Great, but like I still don't understand how he like lucked him didn't he like luck his way into the USC job?
He was an
or
offensive
something?
He was going to be an offensive coordinator for USC, and then Arizona came calling and was like, "Hey, we want you to be our head coach." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah, and didn't they fire an African American man after only 1 year, and he had a winning like a 500 season? Like I think they
I don't think
fired an African, because I remember it was an issue for me because I was like, okay, really NFL, like you're gonna let them fire him after he didn't really do anything wrong and was there for 1 season, and like your whole initiative is.
It might have been an interim.
Oh, was it? I wasn't sure. I thought he was actually fired. I thought he was the permanent head coach and was actually fired.
Because I do want to make sure we get this right. But I want to look at their head coaches over the past, because I want to say Vance Joseph, but Vance Joseph was the coach of the Broncos. And I am blanking on who the head coach of the Cardinals was before Cliff Kingsbury. Bruce Arians was there, but I think he was gone, and there was a gap in between him and Cliff Kingsbury. Stalling for time because I can't find it. I'm trying to fill, and I'm almost there. Steve Wilkes. That was So that's Steve Wilkes. Okay, yeah, I forgot about it. No, he was terrible. He went 3-13, and I'm pretty sure.
But after 1 year, he was there for 1 year. Like, how are you going to change the culture of an NFL program and change it to winning in 1 year? Like, I'm sorry, but they didn't fire Hugh Jackson after an 0-16 season.
It was a purposeful hire. They knew that they were going to be bad, and then when they were bad enough to get the number 1 overall pick, and they knew that they wanted Kyler Murray, and they knew that they wanted to reinvent everything about Arizona, that it makes sense to hire the new coach, I think.
It makes sense. I still just like it rubs me the wrong way because the NFL claims to like want to be increasing diversity, and it's just like that is a slap in the face to that like mantra. Oh, we want to do this. No, you don't really care.
We can't do this every single time a black head coach gets fired, though. There is 6 head coaches in the NFL right now that are black. I think the real problem comes if we take a look at college football and look around the world of college football and see how many white head coaches we see in college football. The NFL,
that's a major problem.
It gets a lot of slack, and it does still have its problems, but they have it's
sure.
I'm not saying they're brilliant.
This is a college football podcast, not trying to get too like into it, but like I just think it's a little silly if they're going to be saying we're pushing this and we're trying to make it happen, and then they don't have anything to say when that happens.
You just can't ever fire a black head coach. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that you can't fire a black head coach. Like I think that it makes it makes sense. It entirely makes sense. I'm just saying, to me, if I'm as an outsider looking at this situation, you're telling me it's a priority, and they actually use that language. It's a priority to us to increase the number of black coaches in our league. If it's actually a priority to you, then this move to me doesn't sit right with me.
I think, yes, on the surface, it looks like, oh, they just fired the black head coach after a year. I hate when anytime somebody from the outside looks in, it's just like, okay, you're fired. They just fired a black head coach after 1 year. You're all about diversity. Why are you firing coaches after 1 year without any other context? And I think we need to, like, it can be a good decision for the organization. The people that are making that decision are trying to make the decision that's best for the organization. They're not thinking, oh, it's a black head coach, maybe we shouldn't fire him after a year.
I understand that.
Like, I think there's just more nuance to these kind of things than just saying, why are you firing a black head coach? I don't care he went 3-13. This white guy stayed on for fucking Jeff Fisher was a coach for 20 years and he just went 8-8 every year. But Marvin Lewis was a head coach for 20 years and he went 8-8 every year.
Sure. No, I guess so I'm thinking about at the time I knew Cliff Kingsbury as Texas Tech's head coach who had just been fired.
It is
from Texas Tech.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
From like he had been fired for not ever having an over 500 season. Like he wasn't a good head coach in college, which I get that like doesn't mean that you won't have success in the NFL, and it does look like he's having success. He is a football mind. Maybe he wasn't a recruiting mind. Maybe he didn't have everything that he needed to succeed at Texas Tech. I was I remember having this inner monologue in my head, and I did look at the context. I understand what they were trying to do. It's just like it still like blew my mind to me that it's like, okay, this is a little tone deaf.
I understand that viewpoint. I just think there's more nuance. I understand that reaction. I just think there is a little bit more nuance in that. I will say it is kind of like we still have our issues. It's literally just like any young, good-looking white coach that either stood next to Sean McVay or has an exciting brand of offense is immediately in the conversation for an NFL coaching job. So,
yep.
It's
okay. But anyways, we were talking about Texas Tech. I mean, it was
turned into a very
firing.
good discussion. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it did. It did. It's a weird firing. Like, it's weird that they fired him to me. Like, also one of those, like, it doesn't make entirely a lot of sense to me because you have your toughest slate of games, and I get, like, oh, we're expecting you to lose literally every game from here on out. But, like, maybe they didn't. Like, I feel like this was one of those times where, okay, maybe you wait till the end of the season.
Yeah. Understandable. I don't know. Sorry, I was reading. I still had Steve Wilkes' Wikipedia up, and on the right side of the screen, it shows his career history. And he was a Bowling Green State University coach in the early 2000s.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sorry.
BG ties everywhere.
Distracted.
Pretty sure Mike Jinks now works for the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, really? He was on the Texas Tech coaching staff, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was on the Texas Tech coaching staff. Then Bowling Green's at the time outgoing athletic director had given a 3 months notice, but was choosing the next head coach for football. Literally Googled good offenses in college football. Texas Tech that year had the best offense, and so he just told the search firm, say, hey, find someone from Texas Tech to interview to let us interview. And they literally just found Mike Jinks, who had been there 2 years and had previously only ever coached high school, and was like, hey, you want a job? And Mike Jinks was so unprepared that he didn't even have a remote idea of who he wanted to be on his staff. It just yeah, sure, I'll take a job. And they gave it to him.
I did never know that was the story of how Mike Jinks got hired, and that is just great.
Absolutely one of the biggest bag fumbles. I understand it's Bowling Green, but dude, even pretend to care.
Oh my God, that's
and
great.
You wouldn't have hired him.
That is great.